morning and good evening, architects around the globe. I'm Nela de Souza, Chair of the Women in Architecture and Design virtual conference brought to you by RIBA members Sri Lanka and AIA International Region. I'm a practicing architect from Sri Lanka, a paradise island in the Indian Ocean, which was once called the Pearl of the Indian Ocean, formerly known as Ceylon. The practice of architecture has been confined to the male bastion until women emerged in the early 20th century. Since women architects have created undeniable and amazing architectural edifices that are noteworthy to mention. Today, we have women in classrooms, in schools of architecture at a percentage of 50-50. But how many of them practice architecture and design? Unfortunately, this figure drops down to 15%. What has happened to the 35% of women who went through school? Where are they? Have they succumbed to their obstacles they faced? This series aims to inspire the 35% of women architects and the future generations to come. All these star architects will share with you their journey in overcoming many obstacles they faced. Women in Architecture and Design is the brainchild of India's foremost woman architect, Brinda Somaya, who has forged ahead with some incredible work, which you would soon discover. She was awarded the gold medal, the highest accolade of the Indian Institute of Architects, for her lifetime achievement. We have put together an incredible bevy of women architects and designers who have taken the world by storm with their distinctive work. Over the next 5 days, you will savor a group of outstanding women architects and designers from Africa, Australia, China, India, Italy, Mexico, Pakistan, Singapore, Sri Lanka, UK, and the US. These amazing women will share with you their story of their hardships they faced, challenges they overcame, and the barriers they've broken in order to achieve greatness in architecture and design. Datuk Pei. Datuk Pei started her own practice, PI Architect, since 1989. Her firm has undertaken a wide range of projects, including shopping malls, hotels, commercial and residential developments. Pei is known for her contribution in the field of architecture, advocacy, and philanthropy. She has dedicated tremendous time and effort to strengthen the profession and to improve the building industry for more than 3 decades. Pei was the first woman president of the Malaysian Institute of Architects, PAM, from 21 to 23, and the second woman president of the Architects Regional Council, Asia, ACASIA, from 2013 to 2015. She remains very active in her professional involvement as the past president of the Council of the Malaysian Institute of Architects, a member of the Board of Architects of Malaysia, chair of the Practice Committee. Pei also remains an advisor to ACASIA. She is a council member of the Region 4 of the International Union of Architects, UIA, from 2017 to 2021. She also serves as a member of the Professional Practice Commission and the chair of the Subcommittee on Gender Equity and Architecture of the UIA. She was responsible in the development of the UIA policy of gender equality in architecture. Pei was conferred with the Honorary Fellowship of the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, in 2019 in Las Vegas. She's also a fellow of the Australian Institute of Architects since 2014 and the Malaysian Institute of Architects since 2009 and the Malaysian Institute of Interior Designers since 2012. She remains an honorary member of the Korean Institute of Registered Architects, KIRA, since 2013, and the Association of Siamese Architects, ASA, under the royal patronage since 2015, and the Federation of Associations of Architects of the Mexican Republic since 2018. She was also presented a number of prestigious awards, such as the CIDB MCEIA Construction Leading Lady Award 2015, Distinguished Australian Alumni Award 2016, Board of Architects Malaysia President's Award 2017, and the Malaysian Institute of Architects Gold Medal for service in 2019. Last but not least, Pei was conferred with the Malaysian Federal Honours title Datuk by the Malaysian King on the celebration of the Federal Territory Day 2016 in recognition of her contribution towards the nation building. I present Datuk Pei Tang.
Hi, I'm Datuk Pei, founder of Pei Architect from Malaysia. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share my journey as an architect. I was born shortly after Malaysia's independence. My parents were teachers with 5 children, and I'm the eldest. My grandfather worked in the plantation and was hardly home. We were taken care of mainly by my grandmother as my parents were busy working. I grew up in a bicycle shop in the small town Kajang with 2 rooms on ground floor. My parents stayed in 1 room, and my grandmother and the 5 of us occupied the other room. The kitchen was shared with another family living on the 1st floor. There was no clean water supply, and we relied only on well water. I remember the toilet was a small hut located at the back of the shop with a hole and a bucket below, which was cleared only once in a few days. Having grown up in a very unconducive living condition made me realize the importance of the great difference of having a proper living environment. My childhood was also marked by the time of great economic transitions and the period of rapid nation building. My parents used to travel to Kuala Lumpur, the capital city of Malaysia, for work after teaching in the morning to supplement the income. As I followed them over the years, I could see the skyline and urban landscape transforming. So I started to find out more about architecture and realized that it is a profession with the power of shaping the environment we live in. It will greatly impact the society, and I wanted to be very much part of the process of transformation and nation building. So I developed intense fascination and became determined to pursue architecture. I pursued Bachelor of Architecture at the University of Melbourne, Australia. I registered as an architect in 1988, and I set up my practice Pei Architect soon after in 1989. I was working 2 jobs for a while with the permission from my employer. I finally secured a small project and started my practice full-time in 1990. My first office was only 500 square feet, and there were only 2 of us, me and my secretary. I was working very long hours, having to do almost everything on my own. These are the first couple of projects which my firm was appointed, low-cost houses and shop offices. Over time, we were commissioned for more projects and projects of much larger scale. Our Puchong Mall was the first big-scale project undertaken by my firm. Phase 1 was opened in January 1997, and Phase 2 opened in September 2009. The Putrajaya Marriott Hotel and the 2 RS Squares were completed in 2002 and 2003, respectively. The hotel houses 488 guest rooms with a large column-free ballroom, 21 meeting facilities of various capacities, and a series of F&B outlets. The 2 RS Square comprised of 2 11-story office towers. The vision of my practice is to provide responsive and innovative solutions to a wide range of architecture by adopting flexible design methodology which breaks away from preconceived or formulated solutions. Professionalism and integrity are the main guiding principles. Over the years, we have completed quite a wide range of projects, ranging from residential to commercial, and also integrated developments. As part of our commitment for social responsibility, we also provided pro bono and partial pro bono services for a few schools. Today, I will present a few of our recent projects. The first one is Sky Condominium, completed in 2018. It houses 1,039 units of residential units of various sizes. It is a resort-style condominium that's equipped with a 5.8 acres recreational space with full clubhouse facilities. Sky Condominium is the tallest landmark set in the 1,000-acre township. It is situated 200 meters above sea level at the highest floor, and every unit commands unobstructed views of the surrounding skyline. All the residential units are designed with maximum natural ventilation and lighting, with minimum shed walls. The living areas of all the units are provided with large covered balconies, and those units facing the west are provided with special sliding doors for sun screening. It is a very difficult site, and more than 60% of the site is actually on steep slope. The planning is such that the podium with 5 blocks of towers hug the terrain to minimize cutting. The podium deck linking the 5 blocks is designed as a landscape deck with different landscape themes. The clubhouse is located at the topmost platform. The swimming pool camouflages itself amongst the panoramic views of the blue sky. The outdoor landscape is designed to complement the space usage and architecture. The selections of material and colors highlight the form of the spaces and create harmonious and soothing ambience. The second project which I'd like to share is the integrated development in ROI Resort City, comprising of 3 key development components: the ROI City Phase 1 Mall, and the ROI City Towers and Le Meridian Hotel. This is a project we work in collaboration with Callison RTKL Inc. from LA, USA. The ROI City Mall Phase 1 was opened in 2014. It has got a gross floor area of 2.2 million square feet and the net lettable area of 1.5 million square feet with around 7,600 car parks. The architecture is inspired by the interpretation of a city in garden concept, where architecture blends with the landscape and the activities of the retail. The mall is home to an Olympic-sized ice skating rink, a 70,000 square feet of adventure park called District 21, 20 fashion brands, supermarket, cineplexes, F&B outlets, offering local and international dining experience, and Symphony Walk, which is an extensive outdoor landscape and dining facilities with musical water feature. The ROI City Towers are interconnected with the ROI City Mall. They comprise of 2 31-story Grade A office towers that incorporate the latest features in sustainability, spaciousness, and facilities. ROI City Towers are green certified with a highly functional and energy-efficient design to reduce energy consumption, with versatile floor plans which aim to accommodate the increasingly dynamic workplace and flexible work patterns. This allows tenants to fully utilize the designated spaces for meeting individual requirements. The hotel, Le Meridian Putrajaya, is also connected to the mall. It offers 353 contemporary guest rooms. The hotel features 2 dining venues and over 40,000 square feet of modern event and meeting space, including a grand ballroom. Currently, the ROI City Mall Phase 2 development is under construction, with an additional 1 million square feet net lettable space seamlessly connected and complement the current Phase 1. Whilst Phase 1 emphasized a natural leaf concept, Phase 2 expands upon its theme to resemble the bark of a flower. The new phase will have natural light coming through a central glass atrium, and some of the notable features of the mall includes a 40,000 square feet exhibition hall, a new cinema concept with IMAX hall, a stylish alfresco dining arcade with a Poro Crochet drop-off zone, new entertainment centers for children and adults, a new rooftop sports center and gymnasium. With Phase 1 and Phase 2 combined, ROI City Mall will be the biggest regional mall in Malaysia with a total net lettable area of 2.5 million square feet. The construction of the new Mossin Hotel is also underway as part of the Phase 2 development, and it is expected to be completed next year. It is designed as a playful, affordable, and minimalistic yet stylish business hotel consists of 495 rooms, tailored for young and carefree travelers. This video taken at the end of 2020 shows the development progress. Pacific Star development is an integrated project set within a land of 6 acres, and the construction of the last phase is expected to be completed before the end of this year. It comprises of 4 stories of retail, 4 levels of basement car park, 5 levels of elevated car parks, and 5 towers comprising of office, signature office suites, and service apartments. The building design is contemporary. It aims to achieve a modern, cutting-edge urban campus in a garden setting. The entire site, including the towers, will be provided with large greeneries to establish a green city oasis, enhancing the indoor-outdoor spaces, and serves to also soften the visual impact of the podium and tower. These photos show the current site condition. I would like to talk a little about my other professional involvement in various organizations. When I returned to Malaysia after graduation, I was truly inspired by the spirit of volunteerism by some of the senior members of the Malaysian Institute of Architects, PAM. They have motivated me through their dedication to promote professionalism and integrity in the architecture profession that started my long involvement with PAM. I was elected as the first female president after its 80 years of history almost 20 years ago. I remain active and currently still serving as past president on council. I was also appointed by the Minister of Works as a member of the Board of Architects Malaysia since 2011, and I've been serving as a board member as at today. In the last decade, I dedicated part of my time towards the promotion of the architectural profession, both at the regional and international levels. I'm currently serving as UIA Region 4 Council member. I'm also involved with the UIA Professional Practice Commission and chaired the subcommittee on gender equity, and a member of the new International Women Architects Committee. One of the very important milestones of my professional life is my involvement with Arcasia, which is a regional organization comprising of 21 architectural institutes in Asia. I served as the president of Arcasia in 2013 and 2014, and currently I'm still serving as Arcasia advisor. Lastly, I would like to talk a little about my family, especially my children and the impact of them in my life. I have both of my children when I was much older, at the age of 34 and 37. My son was diagnosed with development disorder since young, and my daughter suffered from serious sclerosis. We have gone through numerous therapies and special programs. These were probably the most challenging parts of my life. I'm glad that my son has graduated and just completed his master program from the University of Melbourne. My daughter went through her surgery involving planting titanium rod with 14 screws on her spine after many years of failed treatments, and now she's working as a doctor in Melbourne and pursuing her specialization. Having a special needs child and to deal with my children's medical condition changed me tremendously and gave me a different perspective of life. I've established very strong bonds with them, and they have made me emotionally much stronger. I'm also truly blessed to have a very close-knit family, and that has helped me tremendously to get through the hurdles of my life. My parents, siblings, nieces and nephews have been extremely supportive, and without them, I would not be where I am today. The last 1 year has been a difficult year for a lot of us due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This unprecedented pandemic has changed the way we work, interact, travel, and live. It has also created many new challenges. With the vaccine being rolled out, although we hope to be able to eventually return to the pre-COVID-19 regime progressively, I feel that we should take this opportunity to innovate, transform, and rethink how we should reposition and elevate our practice to serve our profession and the built environment better. Thank you once again for allowing me to share my journey, and I would like to end my presentation by reiterating this message: driven by passion. No matter where you are and what you do, if you have the passion, then success will follow. Take care, stay safe always. Thank you.
Natalie Mossin. Natalie Mossin is the head of the Institute of Royal Danish Academy, Institute of Architecture and Technology. She's a specialist in sustainable development in the built environment and innovation on construction. Natalie Mossin is serving the Council of the International Union of Architects as a co-chair of the UIA Commission on Sustainable Development. Natalie is the president of the Congress of the World Congress of Architects in 2023 and the past president of the Danish Association of Architects from 2008 to 2018. She has served in numerous honorary offices as an architect editor, curator, and juror. She has been a Fulbright scholar at Columbia University, New York, and the curator of the Danish Pavilion at Venice Biennale Architectura. I present Natalie Mossin.
My name is Natalie Mossin, and I'm an architect from Denmark. Today I'm talking first a little bit about myself and my approach to architecture and how I came to that approach, and then I'll go into 3 cases. I'm doing it live from Copenhagen, from the St. Kjeld's Plads, the St. Kjeld's Square, a climate adaptation project in Copenhagen that we'll get back to. As an architect, I've been working with innovations and especially with collaborative processes, how we work together to change practice, to move from a great idea to the impact of a new practice, and of course the reason for the need of change, which is the sustainable challenges we're facing today, both in its humane aspects and in its environmental aspects. As a young architect graduating in the year 2000 from the Royal Danish Academy, my first job was as a research assistant working on projects related to ecology and working across disciplines. And that was a huge inspiration. It draws also on how I was working as a student and how I've been engaged in architecture already in my student years, but certainly entering the profession in a context where the interdisciplinary was key and where I was so lucky to work with experts of various fields. I really saw how much we can do when we share our knowledge across disciplines. Through my professional careers, both in my day jobs and in the volunteer work I've been doing, I've seen again and again how the collaborative can play out if we engage in it, and if we give other professions, other voices, a real stake in what we're doing. And I think it comes so naturally to architecture because no architect builds alone. Everything we do is together with those who are going to use and inhabit the architecture, but also with all the professions that together with us create and build both the components we build from and the buildings themselves. In my volunteer work, I've been president of the Danish Architects Association, where the strengths of being together across the whole of the nation, although Denmark is small, we still have diverse contexts from the urban to the rural. And by working together, we can point to agendas, we can raise a voice that's important in how we sustain and further qualities in the built environment, how we reach towards what we want to do to create an architecture that's inclusive, that's humane, and environmentally sound. Later, I've had a chance to engage in the same kind of conversation on an international and global scale, and it has been truly inspiring to see how we basically work together everywhere on the globe as architects in the built environment to further the quality of life and the way we engage with environmental issues and the planet. Obviously, conditions are very different, but we need certainly to share our know-how, share our experiences to reach the full potential of what we can do as architects. And in that sense, engaging with other architects across projects, across borders, across disciplines, with other professions and with stakeholders such as residents, civil society, governments, that is, I think, really rewarding and really key to how we can make a difference as architects. Moving into the first of the three cases I'm going to mention, I'll start by addressing this wonderful place where we are now. It's a climate adaptation project in Copenhagen. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's called St. Kjeld's Plads, the St. Kjeld Square. And this used to be a paved roundabout dedicated mainly to getting a good flow of the car traffic. It has been completely transformed. It's been transformed to be one of, in my opinion, the foremost examples of climate adaptation in the world. It may seem humble. It's a small piece of grasses and greens in Copenhagen, but I think it truly points forward towards what we need to address and achieve in the built environment, in landscape architecture, in our built environment, cities and communities. What we see here is namely a project that reach sustainable values both humanely and environmentally. It's a climate adaptation project that deals with the excessive rainwater that we are seeing as a result of climate change. It's also creating nature network, allowing and sustaining a lot of species, adding trees to the city, and creating a much improved environment for residents, both directly living on this square, but also those in the blocks behind. It's truly, in my opinion, what you could call climate adaptation with co-benefits. This is the kind of project that would not have been possible only through the effort of one part. The SLA architects, who are the architects behind this project, are brilliant. They are world-leading in their field, and that's also why I really wanted us to go to this specific spot today. But they have not been able to do this alone. They've done it working closely with water specialist engineers, with the city, and with the supply company of Copenhagen. This is not a kind of project that you can do without reaching across disciplines, without reaching across those delivering the project and those ordering it, without working with the neighborhood and the local democracy here. But by doing it, it has been possible to create something that has a high architectural value, but also delivers on technical aspects, functions within the city can be maintained and add to the overall qualities of the neighborhood. The way this beautiful square relates to my working life is the fact that I was a part of the initiative Klimaspring, a Realdania-founded philanthropic project that worked with more than 200 actors across the building industry in Denmark and abroad to help catch the good ideas and mature them by teaming up those with ideas with others, crossing the whole value chain of construction, government actors, utility companies, to help solutions not just stay as good ideas or happen in 20 years' time, but see them matured and happen fast at big scale. One of the greatest effects of the Klimaspring initiative, and perhaps the greatest effect, was that it happened at the right time, helped push an agenda forward, helped anchor and support the creation of a new agenda that's now shared across the board in Denmark. This project, which is very, very high level climate adaptation with real co-benefits, would not have been possible 15 years ago. Really, the industry has moved and is now in Denmark in a different place. And it creates a space for architects like SLA, from all the partners that has worked on this project with them, to deliver something at a truly innovative and truly effective level. Having worked on collaborative innovations for a number of years, I was so lucky to be appointed the curator of the Danish pavilion of the Venice Biennale 2018, with exactly the theme collaborative innovations. What we tried to show there was the difficult process of changing practice. 4 projects was appointed to hopefully start a discussion a deliberation on what is innovation and how do we achieve innovation. Innovation can have many forms. It shouldn't happen for its own sake. It should happen to reach a goal. But it comes in many different shapes and forms, and each of them are worthy and relevant. One project we showed was a big leap kind of innovation. It's the Hyperloop by Big, attempting a wholly new way of thinking of transportation. Another project was a social housing renovation by the Danish office Vandkunsten, working step by step to change the approach to repurposed materials among ordinary citizens when their homes are renovated. They did not go all the way. Residents had some reservations, but testing and trying and working to slowly move culture towards a new approach to repurposed materials is a very, very important effort that can have long-lasting effects on housing qualities and on how we view those materials already excavated, already produced, already employed in the industry. A third project of that exhibition is Svinkløv. It's a sea resort, much loved in Denmark, that burned to the ground and was recreated in a modern yet respectful way. What that project speaks to is the necessity that we do not copy the past, but respect our history and feeling of identity in working locally with materials, with locales, and with the shared history and anchoring in the built environment by people. We don't create architecture for its own sake. We create architecture as a frame of human life. And one of the key elements is to allow that human life to take ownership and to exist with an identity in the built environment. The last project we showed to highlight in that exhibition is a research-based project by the research unit CETA at the Royal Danish Academy, working to create more efficient process and production methods that can reduce both resource in hours and in copied hours across disciplines, but most importantly also a reduction of natural materials used. The installation we made was a knitted structure. And I think in the knit there's a beautiful symbol for how we need to think differently. When you knit, like these mittens, you do not lose material. You knit exactly what you need. All the thread is used. That way of thinking that we do not produce for waste, but we produce exactly what we need, no more, is an important lesson moving forward. The last project I would like to mention here today is the work I've been a part on an architecture guide to the UN 17 Sustainable Development Goals. It's work that I have taken up as a part of the UIA Commission on Sustainable Development, and it also anchors with the Royal Danish Academy's focus on working with SDGs in education. For me, the UN 17 Sustainable Goals is truly the most important policy of today. It's global and it's complex, but it's exactly in the complexity that we find the key to true sustainable development. Previously, the UN has worked with very important goals, both on green issues and on humane issues, but the UN 17 Sustainable Goals combine the humane and the environmental issues, and that's really what we need to do. Architects have been quick, I think, to understanding and adopting the goals, and one reason is that architecture by nature is complex and do span across so many different parameters. Each and every project has to work actively with a local climate, with local needs for inhabitants, and all kinds of other issues. Working with the goals, we can continue to do what we do best, to create specific, concrete solutions to real and complex problems that are present everywhere we build in the world. What we have tried to do with these 2 volumes of small books is to help underbuild that conversation. And the way we do it is that we present briefly how the UN define each goal, briefly describe overarchingly what is the interaction between the built environment, what is the actual interaction between architecture and this goal. And then we give a number of examples. They're not the final, they're not the only, but they're each eminent projects that deliver a real contribution to the goal. Of course, when we look at the sustainable architecture of great building projects, they will engage across the board with several goals. But that's not what we've been trying to do here. Here we've been trying to foster a conversation, a real conversation about each and every one of the 17 goals. Because truly, architecture has a contribution, has an interaction. It's also, and let's just face that, it's also a fact that architecture is part of the big problems we face today, both humanely and environmentally. Architecture is a great producer of waste, a great consumer of energy, and architecture can exacerbate, make greater the differences and inequalities between people. But truly, we can also contribute. It may be small steps, it may be a little bit we can do on the individual project, but what you see when you look through the cases in this publication is that it's possible, even in small-scale projects on low budgets, to make a difference, to give a contribution to an architecture that's more inclusive, that respects the natural environment, and strives to make a difference for those inhabiting it. As a head of institute at the Royal Danish Academy of Architecture, it's such a pleasure to see how students, how young architects are working actively with the UN 17 Sustainable Goals and with an architecture that's both humane and environmentally viable. At the Royal Danish Academy, we have committed every candidate student to work with the goals, and the results shown are truly promising for the future. As architects of all ages, we must do our best from where we stand in whatever local context, in whatever position in the industry, to help deliver on the goals, and in the end, to try to reach the overarching principle of leave no one behind. Thank you.
Our moderator, Elizabeth Chu Richer, FAIA. Elizabeth Chu Richer, FAIA, is the CEO of Richer Architects based in Corpus Christi, Texas. A recognized leader in the profession, the firm received the prestigious Architecture Firm Award from the Texas Society of Architects in 2011. Elizabeth believes in the power of architecture to impact lives and elevate the human spirit. She has twice chaired the AIA Gold Medal Firm Award Advisory Jury and juried numerous national and regional design awards. A fellow of the American Institute of Architects and an honorary fellow of the Royal Architectural Institute of Canada, Elizabeth was elected to serve as the National AIA President in 2015. As the 91st President, Elizabeth holds the distinction of being the fourth woman to have served as the National President of the AIA's 158-year history with approximately 100,000 members. I present Elizabeth Chu Richer as the moderator.
Thank you so much, Nella. And I have really enjoyed the presentations by Pei Tang and Natalie Mossin. They're just truly inspiring achievements, and there are many takeaways for all of our audience. I'm looking forward to our conversation here. Just one reminder to our audience is that you have the ability to submit questions to our presenters, and it is on your screen there. And so I will start off with a few questions for our presenters. And so I was thinking in preparation for this session that a few years ago, I had the opportunity to listen to a presentation by Judge Damon Keith, a U.S. federal judge and a passionate civil rights advocate. And I remember that he said, discovery of a new horizon will not happen until you lose sight of the shore. So to you both, I would like to ask the question, what advice would you give to help women in architecture to lose sight of familiar shores and to find new horizons? And what enabled you to step out of your comfort zone? Can you talk about a defining event or maybe a special mentor? Something that really inspired you to take the chance. So let us start with Natalie, if you will, and then we will go to Pei for this question.
Well, thank you very much. And also very inspiring thank you for this introduction, very inspiring to hear Pei Ying's presentation as well. And I think some of the notes she struck about family is where I'll have to pick up here, because I think that certainly to a large degree I'm inspired by my parents. My parents were both in each their very different ways active in associations, in various sort of what you might call pro bono work or non-profit activities, and I think I learned by watching them that if you want things to change, if you want things to have a certain quality or something to exist, then maybe you should put the work into it and help form it and do it. Then starting architecture school, I think in architecture school we get a lot of the tools to do just that, to understand complex conditions of a certain challenge, of a certain need, to conceptualize a possible solution and then work to improve that and carry it out.
Thank you, Natalie. Pei, would you like to add to that, please? you may not be unmute. You may have to push your unmute button. Oh, well, well, Pei, let's.
I think we lost Pei for now. Should I carry on a little bit?
Yes, yes. We'll come back to Pei. So let's talk about your passion, Natalie, in environmental stewardship. You were very, very eloquent in your presentation, and a great promoter of this effort here. Now, we do know that across the world, situations are different. Countries vary in terms of their capability, their resources. And how would you, what kind of advice would you give to women in emerging countries and developing countries to be able to step up and take a leading role in environmental stewardship?
I think there's maybe two very interesting aspects folded into that question. One is to maybe accept that you will often be the only one of your kind in a room, the only woman, the only architect, maybe the youngest person, or maybe the only one talking about sustainability, and not lose confidence in the fact that it's necessary that you are there, even if the rest of the room looks different. So I think it's sort of to press on, believe that we do have something important to add as architects, as women architects, and then not be afraid to repeat or sort of to stay on message, even if it takes time. Going back to the question of inspiration, architect Jan Gehl, the Danish urban planner, is very inspiring, both for his message, but also for the fact that he has stayed on it for numerous decades. He's now an elderly man, and we may forget because we all agree on his message now. But his invention of humane qualities in urban life were not mainstream when he started out. He was on the fringe of architecture and actually had to fight a lot of opposition in the Danish architectural circles when he started working. But it didn't deter him from just keeping at it and pressing on, because he knew there was something important about creating an architecture, an urban environment that supported the human life and human condition. So it may be a bit, it may seem a bit lofty, but to believe in your right to be in the room, and just to believe maybe also, or to press on, even if it takes years, eventually I think we will come through. And then maybe also sometimes to just appreciate the little change, the little contribution, and take that, find the courage to press on, and not expect maybe that every project will allow us a free range of change, but maybe just a little change, a little step in the right direction.
Well, that's really good advice. It's this persistence, the perseverance to keep going. It's really important. I do know that architect Nella de Zoysa at the beginning talked about how we have in schools now, we have 50-50 men and women studying architecture, and yet practicing, we only have about 15%. So somewhere along the way, we have lost 35%. And her question is, what happened? What happened here? And I know that from the U.S. point of view, childcare support has been a major factor in retaining women in the profession. They're particularly for women that are in mid-careers. And so can you talk about what factors, in your country and in your region, or if you're experiencing a attrition, maybe not. Can you speak to that?
I think that...
yes, Natalie.
Do we have Pei with us now?
I don't know that we have her yet, but if you don't mind, go ahead and address that, if you will, and hopefully we'll catch up.
Well, I think that family is a big part of the question in all nations. In some countries, it's difficult for a woman architect to to even continue being in the business once you have a family, once you marry and have children. In Denmark, I would say that women architects, they stay employed, they stay in the business, but having children is quite often a career setback, because it takes time, of course, to tend to your family, and many women architects in Denmark work very, very hard to continue to be ambitious, to continue to press on in their careers while also tending after their family. The biggest help in that question is a good husband. Marry the right guy, because you can, it's tough to do it alone. So you certainly, I mean, this is very personal, but you have to marry somebody who respects that you have something important to offer also outside of the home. And I have to say,
that's very true.
Yeah, and maybe we also need to drop the taboo about being mothers, being caretakers also. When I have, just like Pei Ying, I had my children late. I have two, a son and a daughter. They are 5 and 9. And both of them were born when I was a president of the Danish Architects Association. And I didn't take a leave from the association. And yes, I brought my babies to the boardroom. And I insisted on the fact that it was that I could both take care of a newborn and lead a meeting of my peers. I certainly got the support of the whole of the board, and that was very important. But I also think we have to insist that it's not something we have to hide away or be ashamed of. It's an accomplishment it's a wonderful thing to have a family, and we can continue to be have an important professional contribution at the same time as we start a family and begin to raise it.
Well, that's very important to have that kind of acceptance by your colleagues, and so that's great. Pei Ying, do we have you back?
Yeah, I don't know whether can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay,
yeah,
sorry
great,
about
wonderful.
This. I don't know what happened to the So what
Wonderful.
questions do you want me to answer now regarding the percentage of the women?
Yes, if we're talking about the attrition and what is happening there, what might have been the contributing factors in your country and your region of the world.
Okay, I totally agree with what Nela has said, because we have done quite a bit of surveying, including UIA, and it's quite interesting to note that it's quite consistent even in developing countries and also developed countries, where the percentage actually dropped drastically from 50% to about 15% on licensing. So in Malaysia, we have actually conducted a recent survey at the beginning of 2020, and one of the biggest concerns is actually they talk about work-life balance and also flexible working hours and long working hours. And it's quite interesting in the sense that when we did a survey, the older generation seems to think that the long hours seems to be a bigger factor as compared to the younger generation. And the younger generation tends to look at lack of role model as one of the reasons why female architects are underrepresented. But most of them agree that there's not enough child infrastructure to support them when they're working. And there's not enough flexibility given by the company for them to work part-time at home when they need to do extra work to look after the family. So these are some of the key factors affecting the participation of women in the fraternity of architecture.
Thank you. That's really interesting. And I just wondered, with us all going through the pandemic where we are working from home, maybe that is going to help employers to see that there's an opportunity here where we can be more flexible and about where your work happens, and that might help women to stay in longer. Thank you. Pei Ying, I want to follow up with a question for you. In that, in your presentation, you talk about how you started with a 2-person small shop, and then you've just grown into this tremendously successful architect, and doing really large-scale projects. So I wanted to hear a little bit more about maybe some growing pains that you had, and how did you open doors, and what kind of advice would you give to young women today, how they might open doors and start small and get to design such wonderful big projects?
Okay, actually my journey in architecture is not exactly very smooth sailing. It took me 30 years of hard work and commitment to get to where I am today. So it's not something that, you jump from two-person companies to like 30, 50 kind of workforce. So eventually you need to work really hard. You need to stay very committed to what you're doing. And of course, being a woman in construction industry that's considered very male-dominated, especially in Malaysia. And on top of that, because I'm a Chinese, as you know, in Malaysia, there's this boomy policy where, I can't even get to do any government job. I can only do private sector jobs. So there's a lot of disadvantage. But I still remember when I started my practice, one of the very senior, the CEO of this big developers firm, I was doing a small project for them. So he expressed his concern to his staff and said, no, she's quite young, she's a lady. I don't think she's able to do our job. So I was determined to take the challenge to prove him wrong, that we're capable. So I put my whole heart in ensuring that we give them the best service and really deliver our services professionally. So over the years, we gained his trust and confidence. So we get more and more projects from him. And the fact that we always don't under-deliver, we try to exceed clients' expectations. So in that sense, that we build our reputation, and slowly, more and more people recognize that, they say, oh, PR architect, they are very professional. So we get more and more jobs through recommendations. So, and then over the years, we grew bigger and bigger. But I didn't allow my practice to go too big because I wanted to have a very strict control over the kind of services that we deliver. So end of the day, I think you need to manage your clients to ensure, they're happy with you. That's how your business will go. And I also agree with what Natalie said. Collaboration is the way to go because our practice is not that big. So I think it's good to collaborate with other practices who have got the experience that we don't have. So like some of the projects, we actually collaborate with overseas architects like RTKL in the shopping mall project, where we learn from their experience and skill, and that's how we improve our company portfolio. So like I say, it's not overnight success. It sort of slowly grow from, many years ago until now to where we are today. But end of the day, I think you must be professional. You must commit to try your best and to excel. I think, and you must be passionate with what you do. And then I think if you have all these elements in place, then success should follow. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And so I want to follow up with that. And who are your role models, and who currently or in the past?
I don't have a specific role model per se, because over the different parts of my life, I have a different role model. And when I was younger, my grandmother played a very important role in the sense that we were brought up by my grandmother because my parents were very, very busy. So my grandmother was a very disciplined person. So she taught us and instilled this value of, you need to work hard in your life to achieve what you do, and nothing comes easy. So I think, that training has sort of made me have the thought that, to do well, you must always try your best and put in the hard work. And to a certain degree, my parents have also influenced me, especially my father. My father was involved in a lot of voluntary work. So I think I inherited that aspect from him. So when I came back to Malaysia, I think the few senior members of the Malaysian Institute of Architects, their spirit of volunteerism also sort of inspired me to get involved with the Institute. And they instilled this culture of, working together for the benefit of the profession. So in that sense, I feel that there's more to life than enriching yourself. So I think we have this responsibility to give back to the industry that taught us. That's why I started my long journey with the various institutes, including PAM and also Arcasia, and now with UIA. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you. We have a question from Lester Corselius, and he is asking, what do you do in your firm to promote the advancement of women in the profession?
Can you repeat the question?
What do you do? Yeah, what do you do in your firm to promote the advancement of women in architecture in the profession?
I think it's very important to give them the infrastructure support. I think in Malaysia it's much easier, childcare support, allow flexible working hours. And I think doing it within the own firm is not enough. I think as a profession and also as an organization in terms of Malaysian Institute of Architects, and even at UIA level, I think we owe a duty to actually promote inclusion in our profession. That's the reason why under UIA we drafted the policy to promote inclusion in architecture and come up with some policies to encourage firms to actually have this employment policy put in place to encourage more women participation, to reduce the pay gap difference between the male and female, and also allow childcare support, and also to make sure that there is a path for them to come back. You see, a lot of women actually go away and have their family, but they find it very difficult to come back because after being away, they felt very detached from the profession. So I think the Institute owes a duty to find a pathway for them to return to the profession in an easier way. By allowing, now we're talking about, providing CPD online. Now with the pandemic, with all these new CPD online, it makes it much easier. And we have also put in policy to encourage our other practices to ensure they have a policy to include more women participation. We end of the day, we still believe in competence, right? We do not want to have a policy where you have a quota system, but we must give opportunity for women to participate. So we want to promote more women participations in the Institute and also at the leadership level. I mean, in my own firm, I have close to 50% female. So I don't treat them differently, so they feel all at home. So there's no discrimination. And I think discrimination is one of the biggest factors in pushing women away. So we must allow a platform for them to ensure that their rights are being protected. Yeah.
Well, thank you. And Natalie, would you like to add something to that question? What do you do in your firm to promote women?
Well, I think that I'm lucky to, the Danish support system is very good. Women has a right to paid leave, paid maternity leave, and that's of course a great help. But as an employer, what you can do is that you can hire the best talent, regardless of whether that best talent is a man or woman, and regardless whether it's a young or older man or woman. And then when that young talent is super important for what you're doing and you can't live without them, and they come to you and say, I'm having a baby, then you celebrate. And you encourage that atmosphere that it's great news, and we're all happy. And then we do what we do is we do like a contract of when you're returning. So say you go on the maternity leave, but we have agreed you come back in 1 year. And when you come back, you have the same position, and you are sort of brought back into work through that contract, basically. And then as a little add-on, of course, I also encourage talented male staff to take a nice paternal leave and support their wives and their own relation to their children by taking time off from work.
Well, thank you. We have a question here that with regards to compensation equity. Do you see that to be an issue still today? Natalie?
Yeah, I think very much so. Sorry.
Okay, Pei. That's good. Go ahead.
Natalie or me?
No, go ahead, Pei. And we'll go back to Natalie also.
I think equity is, yeah. Although the situation has improved, but I think to a certain degree we are not quite there yet. That's why we need policies to keep promoting and educate people about equity. So, but now we are trying to expand not just gender equity alone. We are talking about diversity and also inclusion. So even at PAM level, maybe the next thing that we want to do is to develop a policy on diversity, inclusion, and equity rather than gender equity. Although we have been promoting gender equity, but I think it's much more than that. So end of the day, like what Natalie said in terms of SDG, end of the day, they're talking about diversity and inclusion. So that's the ultimate goal. But we are not there yet, especially in Malaysia. In terms of gender gap, I think we are ranked more than 100 in the world, which is not very, very positive. But I think we are getting closer and closer, hopefully. And we need more effort, a joint effort by the whole industry, not just by women alone, but I think this is an effort that the entire industry need to support, including the male. We can't do it on our own. Yeah.
No. Thank you, Pei. Natalie?
Yeah, also in Denmark, there still is a pay gap between men and women. So we're not there yet. There's also still lingering culture of the construction industry being a male-dominated business. So there even in little Denmark, there's work to do. But I would say that for my own institution, which is a public institution, the Royal Danish Academy, we have equal pay. A grade at the university is linked to your level and not to anything else.
Thank you. Another question that has come from our audience is, how have you been marketing your work and your firm? Pei, would you like to take that one first?
I don't actually do very active marketing per se. A lot of my work is actually through recommendation and by to people that I have worked with. Like, for example, I work with this company, the staff left to another company, but because they felt that we have been able to deliver our work professionally, so they then recommend us to also take on projects from their company. So it's actually through recommendation, through our reputation rather than active marketing. So I think at the end of the day, the reputation in the market is very important. How people perceive you, whether you are professional and whether you are able to deliver. Because in Malaysia, the architecture community is very small. We have only 2,000 something registered architects and practices. So everybody seems to know each other. So that's how I actually get my projects rather than active, aggressive marketing. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, let your work speak for itself. Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say I've been very active in marketing my work or my firm, but I'm very active in marketing sustainable architecture in the sense that I lobby it everywhere I go. So whenever I get the chance, I try to support people who are doing something in that direction, or bring it into the conversation if it's not there, or write an opinion piece, or take the initiative to contact a politician. Whatever you need to do. But quite often, I think the best result is not if you do it for your own gain, but if you do it for something where you feel that there's real value for others and yourself, then it's very easy to go out with that message. Maybe easier than the sort of than the straight sale of something.
That's wonderful. Well, we have so much to talk about. I have so many more questions for you both, but we are about out of time. And I want to tell our audience to please go to AIA International Region's website. You will find the Women in Architecture series, and do go there and take a look at all these inspiring journeys and stories from very celebrated women in architecture all around the world. Thank you, Natalie and Pei so much for this wonderful conversation. I wish we can go on for longer, but until the next time, thank you very much.
Thank you for being a great moderator, and thank you, Natalie, and thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.